Hi, everybody. Welcome to training for this week. And this week we're doing Orange Belt training. So we have a lot of fun in store, and I have some bonus content at the end that you do not have to do homework for, but generally this piece of work blows people's minds. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you today. So the first thing I wanted to share with you a little bit of an update on what's happening out there in AI world. Last week, there was a big announcement from OpenAI. At the moment, I've been teaching you that you can flip between the different models, some of the more basic models and then some more advanced reasoning models. And the big announcement out of OpenAI is that towards later on this year, they're going to be releasing the new 5.0 version, which is actually going to automatically determine and depict which of its models it should be using to answer the query that you've got. So that will be something to look forward to. And then on the screen here, I've got something that's been highlighted in our group is that people are actually now starting to recruit roles that are AI first. So this is Andrew Wilkinson. It's actually it's a real job, an AI first director of finance, and looking at, that can do the work of 10 people using AI, and you're advanced with these kind of things. So the point of me sharing this with you is that you guys are in the right place, learning these skills and upskilling yourself, because this is the way of the future. So well done on all of you for being here to learn about these things. Alrighty, so any other questions on white or yellow belt homework submissions, or any other problems that you've come up with on your responses? Just let Liz back in. No? Well, I did have some really big wins recorded in the transformation journals, and John T, I think it's John Tui, had some really great wins leveraging code and being able to use code, JSON code, in ChatGPT. Had a couple of not so good results, but then he actually was able to work with it and copy and paste the content down that he was leveraging and got the answer that he was looking for. So really great results that I saw through there. So well done all of you for completing those journals. I do read them all. And now we are going to share all of our belt gradings. So congratulations, all of you. There's a huge response here. So well done, everybody. We've got a huge amount submitted for white belt and then yellow belt as well. If your name isn't on here and you believe that you have submitted it, please email me, let me know, and I will chase that up for you as well. I do think that there was one query that came through this morning on a submission, which I will get back to you by the end of today. Alrighty, so into our orange belt. But first, I want to just backtrack and just cover off on where we've come from. So in white belt, what we were doing was really starting to understand our AI capabilities. The first step in our journey is really exploring the different input and output combinations from text generation all the way through to automations. And we started to learn that AI is actually a really great prompt engineer. No longer do we need to learn how to specifically write the prompts to get the responses, because we can just ask ChatGPT to do it. Then into yellow belt. In yellow belt, we focused on applying AI to real world tasks and our jobs, our workflows, and how do we leverage AI to come up with standard operating procedures, which are great when we're looking to hire or recruit or upskill someone or hand off work to someone, but also for us if we haven't done something before. And how we can leverage AI inside of those SOPs to break them into actionable steps leveraging the AI. And we also learned that we can actually get AI to start to review its own work. So in any responses that we do, we can get it to review its own work. We also started to test how we can leverage AI as a decision maker. So remember, when we were getting it to improve its own work, we were getting it to, rank different tools as well against a set of criteria. So we just started to play with some of these meta concepts. So I just want to recap the learnings here. Even though I was giving you the prompts, I want you to be aware, here is the lessons that we're actually learning. We learned that, we can actually rely on AI to do the prompt, improve its own work, help us make decisions, create context. So we're actually covering a lot of ground. So what's next? So Orange Belt. So now we're stepping into the next phase. So we're using AI as a cognitive super assistant, and we're going to explore how AI can help us solve problems faster, leverage expert knowledge, and streamline decision making. The kind of things that we'll be able to do in leveraging a cognitive super assistant might be problem solving, breaking down complex issues and asking clarifying questions and suggesting solutions potentially. Strategic planning. AI really can help create long-term plans, reverse engineer goals, optimize decision making. Expert research. We can also summarize insights from industry experts and create step-by-step action plans. And we can also use it for coaching and guidance and refining business strategies, or analyzing market trends, or improving our own personal productivity. It's also a tool, especially through Orange Belt, that you could leverage the tool that I'm going to give you for anything personally that you want to do. I ran a training session yesterday, and the volunteer, I'm actually going to call on a volunteer today, and the problem they wanted to solve was actually their golf handicap. So we actually worked through the prompts and showcased how we can leverage this tool for absolutely any problem. Okay, so it's quite a broad problem and quite powerful. Next week, we're going to be diving into how do we actually automate repetitive tasks. And I'm going to teach you how to automate some of these prompts that we've got, so that we don't have to do any copy and pasting. We can just hit the responses all the way through, a lot like I demonstrated in the first week. So I'm going to stop there, but that's what's coming next week as well. All right, so a few things to hop in and make sure that we've got for today. If you have your role plan open, be ready to go. What we're going to be doing today is selecting a goal that we want to work on, or a problem that we want to solve. And again, it could be a personal challenge that you're focused with, or it could be a conversation that you're struggling to have as well. Or a goal that you've got in your AI role plan and one of your deliverables. Number two, make sure you've got the assets. Does anybody not have the assets that I sent through this morning? No? All good? Cool. Fantastic. And then number three, a document to copy and paste the prompts and the output prompts that we will use as a last step. We will want that open as well. And three mindsets to talk about as usual before we go through this. One, work on your work. Caveat today, if you have a problem that is top of mind in your personal life, you can work on that too. So I'm going to give you a caveat for today. The other thing is, like, as you're now in our Orange Belt week, I want you to start to be thinking about, how do I go and use AI first? So rather than drafting the email or coming up with a execution plan, how could AI help me first? So I'd love to throw it open to you guys. How are you finding the transition from, it's kind of just a habit that we're getting used to. Oh, I wonder if AI could help me with that. Is anybody finding that transition where we're starting to go to AI first to ask it how it can help us, or to solve the problem first? Anybody doing that? Emily?
Karen Blanchard here. I've used it a few times to write letters this week just like lease letters and stuff like that. I found it really helpful and very quick.
Fantastic. So it saved you some time as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
5 as opposed to 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just so, I find that the structure of the content gets so much better for when I use AI as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it has it in. You don't have to read and scan it for tone or spelling mistakes or anything either, which is really important.
Put the names in and away you go.
Yeah, I actually, what I was doing with that was I was drafting letters, emails, proposals first and then getting it to review it and critique it. But now it knows me so well and it knows my style that what I'm doing is saying, hey, I want to write an email that's based on this. And here's the people and a couple of bits of context, and away it goes. And then it's easier for me to edit. So that's another use case for it as well. Thank you so much, Karen. Anyone else? Emily, you were nodding your head. Are you finding that you're going to AI a little bit more first?
Yeah, I use it a lot, like when I'm wanting to do, say, a reel. I just say, okay, this is the footage I have, this is how long I want it to be, and it kind of drafts a structure for me. And even if I don't stick to it, like, it gives me that starting point instead of me having to troll through like hours of footage and pick out the clips that I want and try and put it into a structure. It sort of it gets me thinking.
Yeah, fantastic. Great ideator and thinking partner. I love it. Thanks, Emily. And then daily growth journals. You guys are doing a cracking job on those, so keep them coming. I really appreciate it. And it's really nice to know, even if you are struggling with them, I will pick up on them and I'll reach out to give you a hand on those too. All right, so into our training for today. This is what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about using AI as your cognitive super assistant. I'm going to go through a little bit more teaching today, and you'll find that in the next couple of sessions rather than just some copy and paste prompts. So we're starting to deepening our understanding of what's going on. So we're going to give you an introduction to the idea, and we're going to start to talk about what is the thing that I want, and what is an obstacle potentially that might be in the way, and then how do we start to leverage experts that might be able to help us to then come up with our action plan to solve the problem. All right, so one of the things that we've learned over the last decade in all of our experiences, executive coaches, is interacting with many of the world's most successful business leaders is that they solve problems in a very particular way. They're very clear on what they want. This is often referred to as goal setting or objectives or key results. And they're clear about what they want to accomplish. As soon as you set a goal, though, obstacles will generally start to appear. So very successful people don't hide from these and they don't ignore them. They actually go out to hunt them because that's the only way that they know that they will get to where they want to go. So once we identify those obstacles, they find the world's top experts in the domain as quickly as possible and learn from them and implement that knowledge into an action plan, rather than just trying to solve it themselves and making the same mistakes other people that have been there before have done. And then they rinse, wash, repeat until they have solved the problem. So I want to introduce you to this concept of really leveraging AI now as our personal board of directors to go through this process. This guy is Evan Williams. He's one of the co-founders of Twitter, and before that, Blogger, which was one of the world's first blogging platforms. And back when he was just getting started with Blogger, he was interviewed for a business publication. And they asked him, what is your secret? How do you develop these massive internet companies? And what he said was, if you want to build $1 billion internet company, you take a human desire, preferably one that's been around for a really long time, identify that desire and use modern technology to take out the steps. And so that's exactly what we're going to be doing here today to get you what it is that you want to achieve. So I don't know about you, but I was certainly around when this little gadget was released. The Apple first launched the iPod, and they used to have this marketing jingle that was 1,000 songs in your pocket. If we substituted the word iPod for AI now, it's kind of like having 1,000 experts in your pocket. And so the question then becomes, well, who do you want on your board of advisors as you're solving a particular problem? But the punchline here with AI is that you actually don't need to pick, because AI is being the board of advisors, and it also can go out there and select the actual appropriate board of advisors for the problem that you're trying to solve, whether it's personal or professional. And it is basically like having actionable advice from all of the world's top experts in that field in your pocket, available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's an incredible, powerful coach. So the first thing that I want you to do is it's in your prompt guide this morning. This isn't part of our copy and paste prompts in terms of developing our output, but just in terms of you know, your role and a problem that you might be looking to tackle today, I want you to copy and paste this prompt just to kind of get some idea of who are the kind of leading experts in your role and what you might be looking at doing to solve. So I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to give you an example myself. So I'm going to flip over now into ChatGPT, and I'm going to paste that in here. And I'm just going to say, you know what, I'm going to use a personal example to demonstrate to you today. And I'm going to say, search the web for leading experts. I'm just going to take that out. But if you would put your role, your company, and then what you want to do, I'm just going to put in my role deliverable. I'm going to say leading experts in healing and recovering from tibia plateau fractures. I am 53, female, a little bit of context, and 6 months post-surgery, and want to regain muscle and strength. Let's see who it is going to give me. Whoops, let's fix that typo. This doesn't matter. And give me a list of the top 5 experts and tell me why each is important. This isn't a prompt that you need to do every time you run this, but it just can give you some, okay, who's actually solved this kind of problem before? So it's actually giving me some Australian ones, which is great. Some orthopedic surgeons, awesome. Some more orthopedic surgeons. However, you know, I don't need orthopedic surgeons because I told it I'm 6 months post-surgery. So I probably want to focus on rehab, strength, and nutrition potentially. So let's see if it'll give me some additional experts. Okay, so we've got some sports medicine guys, and here's why. We've got a molecular exercise physiologist, a registered dietitian. I don't know any of these people particularly, but what you can do is go and Google them if you want and find out, you know, where they are and are they actual experts in your field. All right, so back to the presentation. So the next step back to our very simple 4-step process. What are we trying to solve? So just remember that, you know, AI is human directed. We can actually tell it what we want, whether it's in your personal life or your work life, and ultimately you get to choose what you're working towards. So the question that I would like you to answer is, what are the goals that you're trying to achieve or the problems that you're trying to solve? Again, personal or work life. And what we often find is that, you know, you can make a connection using this in your day-to-day personal life and work life, and it will help draw dots and connections in your work life as well. All right, so the next page, I want you to come up with this sentence. So once we've got that goal or the problem that we're trying to solve, I want you to come up with where your obstacle is. So it might be that you're struggling to start on something, or you don't know how to complete it, or you're struggling to prioritize, you know, how to get it complete. So this isn't a prompt in itself. I just want to have it ready for our next prompt. So has somebody got an example of what you would like to be working with today and would be willing to work through with me? I promise, send you the chat afterwards. Anybody willing to? John, was that you?
Oh, I'm here, but I can't because my power at my desk has failed twice, and I'm just trying to get back on.
Well, John, would you like to just play along with me on here, and I will do the work for you on the screen so that we could, you can actually have an example, and I'll send you the results from what we deliver.
Just let me open. I did actually fill in the prompt earlier this afternoon. Just let me see if I can open the Word document.
No worries.
I've just joined again. If it will let me. What are we doing? Orange belt prompt.
Would anybody else like to volunteer? It could be a personal one. Like yesterday, we actually worked through how to improve someone's golf swing. And we developed a very comprehensive case for how to do that. If not,
Now,
I can,
Alexia, I did have some wording.
yeah,
It's a bit complicated, but it says in my, and this is going back to the prompt. You may have already done this in my absence. In my role as strategic racing advisor at Harness Racing New Zealand, deliver growth in wagering through the increased use of our horse population.
got it. Okay. So what would the struggle at the moment be? So in this sentence structure, I am trying to increase your racing bits and
Increase the, I wrote there, increase the number of times each horse races in a year.
yeah,
And I'm struggling to identify the 4 main reasons why trainers are not responding.
responding to what?
Responding to our, I didn't finish it actually, but I could finish it. Responding to increased race stakes and an increased number of races.
All right. Can we use that as the example on the screen today? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, I can't see it. I'm just trying to rejoin, but I might get there. We'll see.
That's all right. Well, we can just do
I'm
it
doing it on the
on
phone.
the next screen. Yeah. So just hold that thought. We'll work with that one. So AI thrives on context. We know that already. We're just starting to continue to layer these concepts in. So repetition, I think, really helps in learning. So what we're going to do here is actually now ask the AI to start to ask us some questions and gather context from us, but I'm going to do it in a different way than we did last week. Last week, we asked it to, knowing the information it knew about us, fill in some answers to some context that it needed. Today, we're actually going to get it to ask us some specific questions. And what we find is that, in doing that, it allows us to drill down into the context quite a bit quicker. So I'm just going to walk you through this prompt today. For the next few weeks, I'm going to walk you through and teach you, what are the prompts actually doing? So one of the first things that we need to do in our prompt, all of these things are bullet points of our instructions that just help us organize the thoughts, our thoughts. So I am we're going to insert John's goal here, and then I'm struggling to, we're going to insert our obstacle. In our next line, what we're going to do here is we're going to ask AI to ask us for clarifying questions to help give us the best possible advice. And we're going to use a multiple choice system, again, different to what we did last time. And we're giving it 5 choices, with D being all of the above and E being other. What I want you to start doing is playing with these prompts. So you can copy and paste them exactly as I've given them to you in the session prompts, or you can start to interact and play with it. So you might say, what? Ask me 6 clarifying questions, or ask them as multiple choice questions, A to F, with, E and F being other, and so on. So I want you to, feel confident to have a play with that and just see what the response is out the other end. So as you go through, you'll see that sometimes the AI will suggest things that are all true. So that's where we'll select D when we're going through the questions. And other times it may not hit the mark at all. And you'll get to add your own context by answering E and typing in an answer. And what this does is really help us get down to the root cause of the issue and help to guide that context. So it's a technique we use to progressively get to that right context as quickly as humanly possible, with as low a cognitive load on us as possible. But the varying amount of context that the AI is able to generate from us is actually, quite quick, and is very, very high in quality. So then lastly, what we're going to do is, summarize what you've learned from me, and then ask me what to do next. So we're going to go over and take our chat. So it's prompt number 3 is where we're going to start. And I'm going to go over into here. I'm going to start a new chat because I was talking about muscle rehab, and I don't want to confuse the GPT. So I'm going to start a new chat. I'm today going to use the O3 Mini because of how fast it reasons. So John, this is where I'd really love you to help me again, put those words down in action. So what are we trying to do?
Sorry, I'm only looking at it on my phone and I can't see. So what I am trying to do is, we're trying to find the reasons why horse trainers do not race their horses more. This is going to be a bit race their horses more often, especially when we have increased prize money and the opportunities for those horses to race other horses of similar ability.
Could you just tell me that next bit again? We have increased the prize money and the opportunity for those horses.
Right, to race
Yep.
for more money
Yep.
against horses of a similar ability. So I'm just going to have to concentrate on the phone here because my computer crashes every time I try and load Chrome.
That's all right. And what are we struggling with?
What are we struggling with? We're struggling with finding we're struggling with understanding the trainer's mind, trainers and owners, as to why they don't, it's circular, why they don't want to race more frequently.
Can I suggest that what we actually want is we want horse trainers to race their horses more frequently.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah,
So
so I'm
we
trying
can-
to.
So we can also add for context that they only race 10 times a year on average in New Zealand.
Right. I am trying to increase the times per year that horses are raced. Currently, on average, 10 times a year in New Zealand.
Correct.
And then I'm going to pop this context down under the
Under the issue.
under the I'm struggling with it.
Yep.
Whoops, stop that. Sorry, didn't hit go too soon. I'm trying to increase the times per year that horses are raced in New Zealand. Would that be a fair summation?
Yep.
And I'm struggling to understand the trainers and owners' mindset as to why they don't want to race more frequently. Find the reasons why horse trainers don't race their horses, especially when we've increased prize money. So we've given a little bit more context there. I'm just going to add in, I work for HRNZ.
Yep, that's fine. Yeah, I had that in the original, but yes.
Yeah, yep. And my role is racing director, did you say?
No, strategic racing advisor.
Great. All right, let's hit go. And then I need you to help me answer these questions. What do you think is the most significant barriers for trainers to race their horses? Concerns about horse health, risk of injury, logistical challenges, perceived insufficient financial incentive despite increased prize money, all of the above, or something else?
No, they're all reasonable questions. They're all reasonable responses.
So maybe D, all of the above?
Concerns about horse health, logic. Yeah, there's one obvious one there there's one obvious one that's not there. So
yep.
It's all of the above are there, but there's one that's not there. So it's,
yeah, give it to me as well.
The other one is
yep.
Other is owners and trainers perceive that the race programs are unfair for their horse.
Great. All right, so let's go to our next question. So the other key thing that I just want to point out is that it's going to ask me questions one at a time, and it's going to dynamically change the question based on what I've answered. If I didn't have that in here, it's just going to ask me 4 questions. So you can also play with this prompt and just take that out and see what it does. All right, so question 2, based on your feedback, what do you think the primary element contributing to the perception of unfairness in the race programs is? Inconsistent or unpredictable race scheduling and conditions, mismatched competitions where they're not raced against similarly matched competitors, inadequate adjustment for horse individual horse capabilities within race formats, all of the above, or something else completely?
No, all of those are very fair.
Okay. What additional measures beyond scheduling and safety do you think you could implement to create a fairer, more attractive race program? A, adjusting race grading and classification systems to ensure level competition, enhance communication transparency about race program design and decision making. C, provide additional incentives tied to performance or participation. D, all of the above, or E, other.
No, all of the above is valid. They're all valid.
Great. And our last question, what additional support measures do you think would help trainers and owners feel more comfortable with increasing the frequency? Dedicated advisory services focus, and we don't have to be solving this here, it's just adding some text.
No.
Dedicated advisory service focused on horse health management, optimal racing schedules, tailored financial incentives to offset potential risks and costs, active involvement of trainers in designing and refining the race programs to ensure fairness. D, all of the above, or E, other.
Alexi, all valid.
Okay, I'll pick D again. Sometimes what can happen when we just pick D all the way through is it can start to get a really broad solution. So one of the things I'd like you to practice, John, you will get this for your homework, but is to actually pick one or two to just really try to drill down into solving that particular problem, because it's kind of like snake oil, right? We're trying to solve everything all at once. It might get too unwieldy. So that's just one of the things that I would mention here. Okay, so we've got a bit of a summary. We've got some barriers, some proposed measures, and some support measures. Right, so I'm going to hop back to our presentation. So now what we're going to do is look at some experts that might be able to help us. So I'm going to introduce you to this thought of matrix thinking. And if you've seen this before with our AI role plan. So the main idea here is that we get to leverage AI to think about multiple things at once, which is something that human beings are not very good at. So we're going to create basically 64 different ideas that experts in the industries or experts out there might be able to help us with to solve our problems. So I'm going to go down again these lines. So we're going to get that 8x8 matrix. And what we're doing, again, in plain English, is telling us our output should be a matrix, not just a list. If I didn't have this in here when we were previously running the prompts, half the time it would give us a matrix and half the time it would give us a list. So we want to specifically tell us what we want the output to be. So that's why that's in here. The vertical axis should list 8 action steps I should take in order to solve the problem. The horizontal axis should represent my team of 8 experts, each of whom are well known in that field. And I'm looking for specialists, not generalists. And then inside the intersection of the matrix, provide me some specific advice from an expert that would suggest I carry out that step. And then make sure it aligns with the field and is practical for making the condition of the step true, and then ask me what I would like to do next. So you can use this. This is the kind of code that's behind our AI role plan. So you can take this thinking of is there a way that I need to think about, a matrix that has steps down one side and something across the top, and apply a prompt like this to that kind of thinking, where we just don't do a really good job of, all at once, and certainly not as quickly as they do with AI. All right, so I am going to jump in and do a copy and paste our prompt number 4 now, which is creating a matrix, and we're going to pop that in here. And John, I would love to continue to work with you on what it's coming back with.
Having eight experts will be a lot better than 2,000.
Yes, for sure. And I don't know if you know any of these. So we've got Dr. Fiona. Professor Albert, they don't look like real. Just going to check. Are these real experts, real people? Question mark. Just the way that formatted that, I'm just not sure. Dr. Fiona Equine doesn't look like a real name. No. Yeah. So sometimes you need to just say, hey, like give me the real people. Give me actual experts.
They're likely to be racing managers.
So, you know, I love it when it breaks down, when I'm taking you through this kind of stuff, because, you know, what we're working with is a generative tool. It can get lazy, and it can, you know, even if you're, you know, have been using it for a long time, it can give you funny results. But that's where you've just got to really start to challenge it in its responses. Okay, this does look better.
Yep.
So Dr. Paul McGreevy, Tony Roycroft, do you know any of these names? They might be US. I didn't.
No, they're US racing names, I suspect. But look, that's fine.
Yep. So then I want to show you. So we've got our action step and our expert across the top, which is what we asked it for. And then our steps. So 1, evaluate a current race schedule and health impact. So some of these might be vets as well, right? Number 2, gathering data on trainer and owners' concerns, consulting experts to design fairer race programs, which you might have internally anyway, develop communication strategies, create targeted financial incentives, pilot new race schedules, adjusting and review and adjusting with veterinary support protocols, and establishing feedback loops and iterative improvements. Does that sound like a fair step-by-step process to tackling this problem?
It's look, Lexi, it's in terms of the time it's taken, it's very fair. What one might do next time around is separate out the veterinary stuff. Because that looking at the matrix has not confused it, it's made it comprehensive. You could do it as 2 separate exercises.
Yeah. So if in some of these steps, is there a step that you wouldn't want to take? So we would
No, the steps are fine in terms of what they are.
Yeah.
No, they're fine. I'm just saying you might get some more clarity in terms of looking for your expert. You most probably would be because it's gone and got veterinary experts as well as racing experts.
Yeah, so what we could do up here, I'm just going to tell it again, and don't get veterinary experts. I just want
racing managers.
Experts and racing managers. So if it's giving you something that, you know what, that doesn't quite look right, just go back and edit it and give it to tweak it again.
Right.
Hopefully it gives us something a little bit better this time. So some names that come to mind: Trevor Denham, Andrew Butcher, Gary Adams. Do you know those names?
Well, some of those are famous New Zealand racing people.
Yep.
In fact, some of them are the best. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So again, that context we've started to refine down. Rather than just going out to all of the world's experts, we gave it some really clear guardrails. So similar kind of steps that we've got here. So what I want you to do once you've done this step is I just want you to read through. These are the kind of way that the experts might interact with this step. So that you might give the AI the specific, you know what, I really like Roger James's, approach to evaluating the current race schedule. But in this stage, I'm just going to keep going with our prompts and go to our next step. But we've got 64 different little pieces of nuggets of information that will help us work out a plan. So the next step, when we go back to here, is actually leverage AI to come up with the action plan. So in our last prompt here, for each of the steps in the plan, come up with a prompt that I can copy and paste into my large language model, ChatGPT, that would remove all of the cognitive work in that step. What we've got here then is a sample, and it doesn't matter what is in the sample. It's going to ignore that. Just by saying it's a sample, it knows to take this and use the formatting of the sample. So what we've got here is we've got those bullets, which we've seen before. Then we've got a hashtag, right? So this hashtag, similar to in Word when we've got a header. So this audience is going to appear as the header. If we use 2 hashtags, there would be a subheader. Our next line down, we've got 2 asterisks. So what our format and our output is going to do is it's going to give it to us in bold. So it's going to give us the action to take in bold, the why take it, expert who suggested it, in bold as well, and the rest will be in normal text. And then it's also going to give us our AI prompt. So I'm going to copy and paste this over now, and I want you to see, hopefully it does give us the formatting the way I asked it to. So this is where we're starting to learn how do we get the formatting the way that we want to as ChatGPT is giving us outputs. Okay, so our next section is our prompt. Sorry, I'm just operating with a couple of different screens here. So it is prompt number 5. So if you could go all the way down to up to prompt number 6. So we're going to create the action plan. I'm going to paste that in, John, and we're going to see what it gives us back. Sorry, it's just not playing ball with me. Let's move to this one. There we go. And I'm going to paste that in here, and I'm going to hit send. So what it will do now is it will take for each one of these steps, and if you're reviewing this, if you don't like one of these steps, interact with the ChatGPT and tell them, you know what, no, we don't need that step. Before, John, number 7 was all about the vet. It's adjusted that based on what we gave it. It review and adjust operational protocols based on some pilot feedback. So now what it's doing is it should be giving me the steps, the action to take, why to take it, and the prompt. And this is what's called a markdown version. So instead of just prompt text the normal way, it's actually given it to me in a different format, which is just fine. You can ask it to give it to you in line, and it will change that. But I don't really care what format it's in, and I'll show you why. So our step 1, evaluate current race schedule. Our action to take is review the current race frequencies, assess how balanced competitive performance is without adequate recovery, analyze historical data, industry benchmarks, and why take it. So Trevor McKee and Andrew Forsyth have emphasized the understanding of the current state, critical for baseline, identifying where adjustments and yields can get the best competitive and operational outcomes. And then it's created a prompt for me here. It's quite long. I need a comprehensive analysis of the horse racing industry. Please review historical data. So what we can do here, go back to our prior belts and say, well, what information do you need from me? If it is publicly available, you could say, go out and search the web for that as well. So you might have a database that you could copy and paste results in. You know, it might only be a small sample over 6 months or 12 months that you'll be able to put in here. So you could edit that to say, ask me what information you need to complete this prompt. So that's our first step. Our second step, we're gathering data on trainer and owner concerns. So collect and synthesize data. So I need to collect detail. So we might need to come up with a bit of a interview or a survey, and we could ask it to actually summarize, not just summarize it, but come up with what that survey or interview schedule could look like. So this step probably isn't deep enough for what information it's asking for. It's assuming that we've already done that work. So
just on this one here, we've often used SurveyMonkey, and you have your questions, and then at the end you do that ubiquitous question, have you got anything else you want to say? And then you end up with 300 different opinions. You could put that in here.
Absolutely, you could.
Right.
Yep, if you've already got the data, use that in this prompt area. Absolutely. If you haven't got it, you can get it to draft the interview and surveys as well as a sub-step before.
That's fine. No, we have surveys, but we sometimes only use keywords.
Yeah, cool.
It doesn't do it very well.
Great. So we'll do a really good job of summarizing that, especially in this context, right? All right. So our next step, as usual, I taught you this last week, and we're going to improve the prompts. And again, last week we did a little bit more complex, where we had it critique its own prompts out of 25 different suggestions. A little bit simplified today. Just with the panel of experts, make some improvement suggestions, name the expert, and then give me the suggestion and not the prompt, because we're going to get that in the next step. So grab that next prompt now. How are we all going? Any questions so far on that? Is anybody stuck? And if you're watching on replay, obviously you can stop and pause at any point in time and copy and paste the prompts, read through all of the steps, obviously, and continue when you're ready. Anyone got any questions? No? All right, so now we're just going to say, okay, these prompts, let's actually see if it can do a better job of creating the prompt. And then we can use these prompts to try to actually solve the problem. All right, so our step one, Trevor McKee and Andrew Forsyth have said, okay, we've got to incorporate some historical examples of scheduling adjustments, their outcome to provide some context. And Andrew Forsyth include explicit benchmarks from similar racing markets and clearly define what adequate recovery looks like numerically. Gather data on trainer and owner concerns. So these guys have suggested specifying potential data sources and methodologies, or adding sample survey questions, which is what I suggested before as well. Step three, consult the experts to design fairer race programs. So we're going to recommend some case studies potentially and include a step-by-step framework for testing and validating each proposed change to ensure operational feasibility. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these just for the sake of time because we've got 10 minutes left. But John, how did these sound? Do they sound like, you know, on the money in terms of what we're trying to do?
Look, they sound right. They sound fine. Whether they came out of the words of mouth of Roger James or John Howard, I don't know, but they sound right. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
They're the sort of things we would do and have done. Yes.
Yep, great. So our meta improvement down the bottom, it has come up with, okay, we want to make sure that the AI is generating prompts that are clear, sequential. So this is a meta is an overarching instruction to the prompts, and that we are directing to add any additional context and instructions at every prompt to remove any ambiguity and reduce any cognitive load required by us. And what would we like to do next? So our last step is to give me the entire revised flow of our new prompts. And once it's done that, so we've got all of the updates, now all you need to do is copy and paste these prompts is what it should say. So we're going to go and do that. And ultimately, we should have our prompts are revised and updated for those suggested improvements as we're going through, and then we'll be able to use those prompts to copy and paste them to make our first pass at solving our problem. So I am going to copy and paste that number 7 prompt in. So give me the entire flow. And I'm just going to open up another ChatGPT instance, and we are going to, again, I'm going to use O3 Mini. I'm going to pick up this first prompt. So evaluate the current race schedule and industry impacts. So what I want you to do is just go through these prompts and see, you know, has it actually incorporated into the prompt? I'll just put it over here so it's a bit more readable. I need a comprehensive analysis. Please review historical data, frequency, race records, incorporate historical examples. I'm just going to say use what is available publicly for now. Okay, so you might upload some data from a database in here, John, when you're copying that in. So I've taken our first step. Just going back up to our step 1 here. That's the updated suggestion was to incorporate the historical examples and include benchmarks. So in here, it's got the benchmark. So it's updated our first prompt with those suggestions by the experts. So I'm just going to hit go and see what we get back. Again, we haven't really added much in the way of context and no data. So recent studies reveal New Zealand racing schedules, like many international horse markets, are facing challenges balancing race frequency with adequate horse recovery. Historical data suggests while increasing race frequency can boost revenue, it may adversely affect equine performance. So it's giving you a stat there as well. So historical data and benchmarks. Race frequency and recovery. So does this sound right? Varied between 6 to 10.
They're all in the right ballpark for the thoroughbreds, yes.
Yep. Performance outcomes, recovery periods under 10 days. So it's given us some information here. You are best to know whether this is accurate or not. And then we've got some international benchmarks that it's gone out and suggested as well. And then potentially some recommendation for optimizing these schedules as well. So we won't go through the detail because this is actually your homework, John. But what I want you to do is, once you've got these finalized prompts, is actually go through and copy and paste them and assess, has it actually helped me? Has it given me some, real guidance on how I can solve this problem? Okay, so I'm just going to, I don't have the next data, but what you would do in this next one, gather the data owner, I would copy that and bring it over here, paste that in, but I would upload and add my file of my SurveyMonkey raw data in here.
Right.
And it will summarize it for you. Okay, so you're continuing to add and build on so that we can get to solve the problem. So I'm going to pause on this, and I've got our homework. But John, what did you think of that?
Look, Alexi, that's excellent. I mean, I obviously have questions about how you verify the accuracy of some of the appearance of science in terms of the way data is presented, but if it makes sense, you can check it. Okay,
and these also have sources in here that you can go and check. Well,
you can go and check them.
And if it doesn't, you can ask them for it.
I'm just conscious that the Chief Justice of New South Wales said last week that lawyers weren't allowed to use it anymore because a young lawyer was caught the previous week put in a court submission, and ChatGPT, Spellbind, whatever it is, the law version, it made up 3 cases that were completely fictitious.
But again, and that's a really great example of we're still accountable for the output, right? So if it's given us, if we're uploading statistics and information, historical records, and we know that that's safe, perfect. Otherwise, we need to be vetting and checking the sources of that information, and we can ask it to give us those sources and links to it as well. And you can always ask it too, have you made this up? Is this fictitious in any way, shape, or form? Tell me where. All right.
I think the benefit that I've had on the ones I've done so far is I've done it mainly on projects, is making or creating projects and covering off stuff I would never have thought of. I think it's the comprehensiveness of the project plans.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have to say, I sometimes wonder, it's creating work, but it's also reducing risk by being comprehensive. And that's what I've found really helpful.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so our next steps for homework is to choose basically a problem that you want to solve or a goal that you want to achieve, and it doesn't have to be a work-related one. But your goal this week is to solve that problem, is to get through to that completed GPT. So an example that I used was that, coming up with a nutrition and exercise program to rehab my leg. And, I can't do that over a 5-minute session on ChatGPT, but I came up with the plan. And that's what I'm looking for, is just to come up with, here's the plan that it came out with, and I think it's on the money, or it's overkill, or I've got to check the sources, or I have to add and update this information. But the goal is to get an output or a recommendation that you're happy with, John, that you're really solving and got some actual tangible results for that you can move forward with. So copy and paste those prompts and then get that deliverable out of your ChatGPT. So any questions on the homework? Is that clear enough? I want to make sure that you're all clear.
Yep, that's great, Alexia.
Awesome.
I think.
Cool. Thank you. And submit your transformation report under Black Belt efficiency in Orange Belt. Now, it is 3 minutes to the hour. This will not take very long. This is a bonus that I think you'll want to stick around from, but if you need to drop off, I'm going to keep the recording on for you. So if you have to go, all good. So this bonus is not part of your homework. You do not need to do this. This is just here's a different way of looking at the same context of prompts and the same flow of prompts. And it's leveraging AI as a trainer in absolutely any topic. So I've run this, and sometimes leadership and development, people's like, it's taking away my job. But the output is always still humans need to be guiding it. We're directing the AI and we're accountable for the outcome. So we need to make sure it's delivering on the content. It just helps us do things a lot more effectively. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a course. So this is the same prompt. I'm going to fly through this a lot faster because I've already explained each of the steps. The only thing that has changed in here is that I'm trying to create a course. That's the only thing. Everything else is the same. So your bonus prompts are down underneath your homework. And I'm going to just go and grab that prompt, and I'm going to enter a new chat, and I'm going to pop that in here, and I'm going to put a course on leadership development and emotional intelligence. All right, so I'm going to hit go. I'm going to quickly answer these 4 questions. Who am I targeted at? So I'm going to say B and C. Primary outcome, I'm going to go with actually all of the above. One of the things I probably would do is I would have it focus on A and B, and again, go really deep on those couple of topics. And then number 3, preferred course format. So in person, online, a blend, or all of the above. I'm going to go with A, in person. You can do this for help me fix my motorbike kind of course, or I need to roll out a new IT system and need to train everybody in it. So which interactive learning method do you want? Role playing, simulation, group discussion. So I'm going to do D, all of the above again. After I said, sometimes it can take it very broad, it's given me a summary. And so I'm just going to go back to my presentation. And the next part is to come up with our matrix of experts in our specialist field. So we'll see if it plays ball this time. So I'm looking for, this time, leadership developments and emotional intelligence experts. Again, you can do this on absolutely any course or anything that you want to learn, which is kind of mind-blowing. Well, when I learned this, it was like, wow, okay. So it's going to hopefully give me the matrix with actual experts this time, and I know these ones. So I don't know horse racing experts. Goldman, that's the name I was looking for. John Maxwell and Simon Sinek, all very good. So that last prompt, I didn't actually really change at all. There was nothing in there that was different except the first line. There we go. So we've got some steps. Instead of steps like you had, John, we've actually got modules. So we've got self-awareness, communication, relationship building, strategic leadership, and so on. And we have a whole heap of leadership experts. I know all of them, except Warren Bennis. So that's good. And the next step, remember, is actually creating the course. So this is where we're going to create the prompts that will then create the entire course for us, without us having to write basically more than a couple of words as we're creating these prompts. So same context and the same flow of prompts, just 1 or 2 words that have been changed. All I've changed in this, let's explore creating this course rather than solving my problem, right? So that's where I want you to think, how could I use this prompt in a slightly different way? And you guys have the access to these prompts, keep them, use them, tweak them. All right, so we've got our first prompt here, our course overview. They all look like very reasonable subjects. Our second prompt, creating our module 1. Let's develop a comprehensive module. It's actually going to write it for me. Second module, and so on, all the way through to our module 8. And then our next step, I told you I was going to go fast through this. I do apologize. I just wanted to demonstrate it for you on the screen. If you do need to pause as you're going through it. Do that and come back. So we will get some revised prompts from the expert, and then we'll get the entire flow. And I just want to show you the first couple of chapters that it creates, which is, I've always been impressed with everything it has created. So it's given me some improvement suggestions without the actual prompts, which is what I asked it for, as well as our overarching instructions or our meta prompt. So ensuring it can be copied and pasted sequentially and so on. And then I'm going to pop in my last prompt, which is give me the whole lot all together, basically. So we're going to do that again. So I have come up with a topic and will produce an entire module with exercises and activities in the space of less than 5 minutes, right? Okay, so it's going to update all of those. You can go and double check that it's incorporated your improvement suggestions. I won't do that right now, but I'm going to go and I'm going to take this. I'm going to go into my other chat. I'm going to start a new chat again, different topic. And I'm going to copy my first, yours might look slightly different in format to this. And if it does, if it just is in line, you can just highlight the whole lot and copy it. But in this version, I can just click on the copy, take it over here. Now, I haven't added any context for entity, which you could add to any course that you're doing as well. Again, the more context, the better. But now it should be giving me an overview of this course with the 8 different modules. And it is great. So it's got that context, course overview. Additionally consider it. Let me just. Right. So our next step is because what it said is just ask me what you want to do next. Our next step, our module, let's actually start to develop that. In here, our next step, let's actually start writing this module. All right, so we have our introduction, the significance of it. I don't know why it's pulled up LLMs. That's not supposed to be in there. Learning objectives, self-assessment and emotional strengths, key concepts on emotional intelligence, social intelligence, self-regulation, some practical tools, some interactive components, some role-playing, some case studies. Now, for me, that's probably not detailed enough. I could get it to go deeper and give me actual examples and the script, as well as the speaking notes to these and slides is a further explanation. And I could just keep going and give me further prompts on this. But that's an example of how I can create content with copying and pasting basically 5 prompts for any course that you need to create. Liz, what did you think about that?
Yeah, that's very impressive, Alexi. In such a short period of time, being able to pull out something, a good framework to work with.
Yeah. So, just thinking through anything that you need to train and roll out, giving it a crack. It may not be perfect, but it gives you a really good starting base rather than having to reinvent the wheel or start from scratch. So, guys, that's it for Orange Belt today. Any questions? I'm sorry I have taken you over time. Bryce?
Is there a way to quickly get it to reference something you've done earlier, like you're going through steps? It takes you down a little rabbit hole where you figure out it completely lied and you turn around and go back and try some more. And then you just want to say, okay, referencing this one that we did here.
Yes.
Is there a quick way to
absolutely.
reference within there?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you could do in the very first step that we did with John, let me just pull my prompts over here so you can see them all. Can you see my screen still?
Yep.
So in this very first prompt, where we're setting context, right? I would add it in there. So I'm trying to, this is what I'm trying to do. But I'm actually struggling. Sorry, that is not supposed to be in there. And I'm trying to set a goal. That should be. I'm sorry for that. I'll send this again. And I am struggling to, whatever your problem is, please reference the attached document or any information that it can add to really start to clarify the questions.
And not the references of the answers, the references of your question. So you can say back to this question and its result. I'm now talking about that again.
Sorry, could you just clarify that question for me?
So you start off and you're saying, I want to know, this is the problem. I want to know how to fix it. It's a technical problem, and it gives you 5 suggestions. So you dive off into one and then find it's telling you stuff that doesn't exist and what have you. And then you go back and you try the second step and you do a few things and you end up down a few rabbit holes. So then you're like, okay, forget everything we've just done here. I'm now referencing the first question.
Yeah.
And what is there a way to just reference and keep a reference that you can say, okay, point 5.
Yeah,
carrying
absolutely.
on from there.
Yes, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. So I'll just go back to John's example, for example. I think it was in this one. Go all the way back to the top, this one here. So what I would do, if you, what you could do is say, I need these to, any information you provide me must have an accurate real source, and you need to provide me the source. But if you get to question 5 and you think it's gone down a whole bunch of rubbish, just go back to question 1 here, and you can edit this and say disregard, or just, you don't even have to say, because if you enter anything in here, it will completely wipe it out and say, right, start again, but I want you to go in a different direction. Go down this course, give me actual sources and scripts.
And so that'll erase everything that came after it.
Yeah, if you want it to. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Does that help?
It may do. Sometimes you do want to keep the rabbit hole.
Yeah, so the other thing that you could do is just copy and paste everything that you've got before it that you want to try again, copy and paste it in just that section into a new chat, and it will pick it up and take it from there. So you get to keep the old one too.
Alrighty.
Sounds good. Thanks for your question, Bryce. Alrighty, anybody else? Maria, did you find it helpful today? You're right in front and center and looking at me.
You're on mute, Maria.
Unmute. Yeah, no, it was interesting. I just always struggle to think about what role deliverable I'm going to try and make workable.
Yeah, so maybe just for now, just to get an idea, think about it, on a personal goal that you might want to achieve. It might be, increasing your walking capacity, or, swimming with the kids, or, something, or, I'm trying to increase the amount of holidays that I'm having, but I'm struggling to know where I want to go. It might just relate it to something personal, even just to do the homework. And it doesn't have to be related to a specific role deliverable. It could be just a problem that you're having. It might have, or something in the past. You know what? I had difficulty expressing myself in a situation where there were 10 or 15 people in the room, right? So how can I overcome that? So we can use this for leadership and development, self-development areas as well.
Alexi, John, the point I'd make is, when I wrote that this afternoon, I deliberately chose quite a broad and, in fact, very complex topic. And I can tell you it won't be my homework because I haven't got time, but we'll find part of it. But but the answers were, look, the direction I can't criticize. It was very, very good.
Great. I will still send it across for you, John. All right,
thank
guys.
you.
Thanks very much for today, and I will see you next week.
Thanks, Alexi. Bye then.
Bye.
Bye.